My name is Nathan R. Miles, and I'm the Artistic Director of New Antiquities Theater Company. I want to take a moment to thank our sponsors and our patrons for supporting us throughout the years and for helping to make this season possible. I also want to remind you that you can find more information about New Antiquities at newantiquities.org. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, so please be sure to follow and subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest news about our season. I want to welcome you to this exclusive streaming event, and I hope that you enjoy the show.
Oh, for a muse of fire that would ascend the brightest heaven of invention. A kingdom for a stage, princess to act, and monarchs to behold the swelling scene. Then should the warlike Harry, like himself, assume the port of Mars, and at his heels, leashed in like hounds, should famine, sword, and fire crouch for employment. But pardon gentles all. The flat unraised spirits which hath dared on this unworthy scaffold to bring forth so great an object. Can this cockpit hold the vasty fields of France? Or may we cram within this wooden O the very casks that did affright the air at Agincourt? Oh, pardon. For a crooked figure may attest in little place a million. And let us, ciphers to this great accompt, on your imaginary forces work. Suppose within the girdle of these walls are now encased two mighty monarchies, whose high upreared and abutting fronts the perilous narrow ocean parts asunder. Piece out our imperfections with your thoughts. Into 1,000 parts divide one man, and make imaginary puissance. Think, when we speak of horses, that you see them, printing their proud hooves in the receding earth. For 'tis your thoughts now must deck our kings. Carry them here and there, jumping o'er time, turning the accomplishment of many years into an hourglass. For the which supply admit me, chorus to this history, who, prologue-like, your humble patience pray, gently to hear, kindly to judge our play.
my gracious Lord of Canterbury.
God and his angels guard your sacred throne and make you long become it.
Sure, we thank you. My learned lord, we pray you to proceed and justly and religiously unfold why the law sleek that they have in France or should not bar us in our claim. Under this conjuration speak, my lord, for we will hear, note, and believe in heart that what you speak is in your conscience washed as pure as sin with baptism.
Then hear me, gracious sovereign, and your peers that owe yourselves your lives and services to this imperial throne. There is no bar to make against your highness' claim to France, but this, which they produced from Fairmont. In terram salicam mulieres ne succedant. No woman shall succeed in Salic land. So that, as clear as is the summer sun, King Pepin's title and Hugh Cabot's claim, King Louis, his satisfaction, all appear to hold in right the title of the female. So do the kings of France unto this very day. Howbeit that they would hold up this Salic law to bar your highness claim from the female and rather choose to hide them in a net than amply to embar their crooked titles usurped from you and your progenitors.
May I with right and conscience make this claim?
The sin upon my head, dread sovereign. For in the book of Numbers it is writ, when the man dies, let the inheritance descend unto the daughter. Gracious Lord, stand for your own. Unwind your bloody flag. Look back into your mighty ancestors. Go, my dread Lord, to your great-grandsire's tomb from whom you claim. Invoke his warlike spirit. And your great-uncle's, Edward the Black Prince, who on the French ground played a tragedy, making defeat on the full power of France, whiles his most mighty father on a hill stood smiling to behold his lion's whelp, forage in blood of French nobility. Oh, noble English that could entertain with half their forces the full pride of France, and let the other half stand laughing by, all out of work and cold for action.
They know your grace hath cause and means and might. So hath your highness. But never have a king of England had nobles richer and more loyal subjects, whose hearts have left their bodies here in England and lie pavilioned in the fields of France.
Oh, let their bodies follow, my liege, with blood and sword and fire to win your right. In aid whereof we of the spirituality will raise your highness such a mighty sum as never did the clergy at one time bring in to any of your ancestors.
Call in the messenger sent from the Dauphin. Now are we well resolved, and by God's help and yours, the noble sinews of our power, France being ours, will bend it to our awe or break it all to pieces. Now are we well prepared to know the pleasure of our fair cousin Dauphin, for we hear your greeting is from him, not from the king.
May it please your majesty to give us leave freely to render what we have in charge, or shall we sparingly show you far off the Dauphin's meaning and our embassy?
We are no tyrant, but a Christian king, unto whose grace our passion is as subject as are our wretches fettered in our prisons. Therefore, with frank and with uncurbed plainness, tell us the Dauphin's mind.
Thus, then, in few, your highness, lately sending into France, did claim some certain dukedoms in the right of your great predecessor, King Edward III. In answer of which claim, the prince our master says that you savor too much of your youth, and bids you be advised there's naught in France that can be with a nimble galliard one.
Oh, by the mass, lad, thou sayest true. It is like we shall have good training that way. Tell me, how? Art now that horribly afeard? Thou being heir apparent, could the world pick thee out 3 such enemies as that fiend Douglas, that spirit Percy, or that devil Glendower? Art thou not horribly afraid? Did not thy blood thrill at it?
Not a whit, in faith. I lack some of thy instinct.
Thou wert be horribly chid tomorrow when thou comest to thy father. If thou love me, you practice and answer.
Do thou stand for my father and examine me upon the particulars of my life.
Shall I? Content? Oh, this chair shall be my state, and this dagger, my scepter, and this, that's cushion, my crown.
Thy state is taken for a jointed stool, thy golden scepter for a leaden dagger, and thy precious rich crown for a pitiful bald crown.
Well, and fire the grace be not quite out of thee. Now, shalt thou be moved? Give me a cup of sack to make my eyes look red, that it might be thought I have wept, for I must speak in passion. I will do it in King Canvas's vein.
Ha! Well, here is my leg.
And here is my speech. Stand aside, nobility.
You cannot revel into dukedoms there. He therefore sends you meter for your spirit. This ton of treasure, and in lieu of this, desires you let the dukedoms that you claim hear no more of you. This the Dauphin speaks.
What treasure?
Tennis balls, my liege.
Oh, we are glad the Dauphin is so pleasant with us. His present and your pains we thank you for. When we have marched our rackets to these balls, we will, in France, by God's grace, play a set shall strike his father's crown into the hazard. Tell him he hath made a match with such a wrangler that all the courts of France will be disturbed with chases. And we understand him well, how he comes o'er us with our wilder days, not measuring what use we made of them. We never valued this poor seat of England, and therefore living hence did give ourself to barbarous license, as 'tis ever common that men are merriest when they are from home. But tell the Dauphin I will keep my state, be like a king, and show my sail of greatness when I do rouse me in my throne of France. For that I have laid by my majesty and plodded like a man for working days, but I will rise there with so full a glory that I will dazzle all the eyes of France, yea, strike the Dauphin blind to look on us, until the pleasant prince this mock of his hath turned his balls to gunstones, and his soul shall stand sore charged for the wasteful vengeance that shall fly with them. For many 1,000 widows shall this his mock out of their dear husbands, mock mothers from their sons, mock castles down, and some are yet ungotten and unborn that shall have cause to curse the Dauphin's scorn. But this lies all within the will of God, to whom I do appeal, and in whose name tell you the Dauphin I am coming on, to venge me as I may, and to put forth my rightful hand in a well-hallowed cause. So get you hence in peace, and tell the Dauphin his jest will savour but of shallow wit, when thousands weep more than did laugh at it. Convey them with safe conduct. Fare you well.
all the youth of England are on fire, and silken dalliance in the wardrobe lies. Now thrive the armorers, and honor's thought reigns solely in the breast of every man. They sell the pasture now to buy the horse, following the mirror of all Christian kings with winged heels as English Mercuries. For now sits expectation in the air, and hides a sword from hilt unto the point with crowns imperial, crowns and coronets promised to Harry and his followers. The French, advised by good intelligence of this most dreadful preparation, shake in their fear, and with pale policy seek to divert the English purposes. O England, model to thy inward greatness like little body with a mighty heart. What mightst thou do that honor would thee do, were all thy children kind and natural? But see thy fault. France hath in thee found a nest of hollow bosoms, which he fills with treacherous crowns, and one corrupted man has for the guilt of France, oh guilt indeed, confirmed conspiracy with fearful France, and by his hands this grace of kings must die, if hell and treason hold their promises, ere he take ship for France, and in Southampton. Linger your patience on, and will digest the abuse of distance, force of play. The sum is paid, the traders are agreed, the king is set from London, and the scene is now transported, gentles, to Southampton. There is the playhouse now. There must you sit, and thence to France shall we convey you safe, and bring you back, charming the narrow sea to give you gentle pass. For, if we may, we'll not offend one stomach with our play, but till the king come forth, and not till then, unto Southampton do we shift our scene.
For God, his grace is bold to trust these traitors.
They shall be apprehended by and by.
How smooth and even they do bear themselves, as if allegiances in their bosoms sat crowned with faith and constant loyalty.
The king hath note of all they intend, by interception which they dream not of.
Nay, but if the man that was his bedfellow, whom he hath dulled and cloyed with gracious favors, that he should, for a foreign purse, so sell his sovereign's life to death and treachery.
Now sits the wind fair, and we will aboard. My lord of Cambridge, and my kind lord of Masham. And you, my gentle knight, give me your thoughts. Think you not that the powers we bear with us will cut their passage through the force of France, doing the execution and the act for which we have in head assembled them?
No doubt, my liege, if each man do his best.
I doubt not that, since we are well persuaded we carry not a heart with us from hence that grows not in a fair consent with ours, nor leave not one behind that doth not wish success and conquest to attend on us.
Never was monarch better feared and loved than is your majesty. There's not, I think, a subject that sits in heart grief and uneasiness under the sweet shade of your government. True, those that were your father's enemies have steeped their galls in honey and do serve you with hearts create of duty and of zeal.
We therefore have great cause of thankfulness, and shall forget the office of our hand sooner than quittance of desert and merit, according to the weight and worthiness.
So service shall with stilled sinews, toil and labor shall refresh itself with hope, to do your grace incessant services.
We judge no less. Enlarge the man committed yesterday that railed against our person. We consider it was excess of wine that set him on, and on his more advice we pardon him.
That's mercy, but too much security. Let him be punished, sovereign, lest example breed by his sufferance more of such a kind.
Oh, let us yet be merciful.
So may your highness and yet punish too. You show great mercy if you give him life, after the taste of much correction.
Alas, your too much love and care of me are heavy orsons against this poor wretch. If little faults proceeding on distemper shall not be winked at, how shall we stretch our eye when capital crimes, chewed, swallowed, and digested, appear before us? We'll yet enlarge that man, though Cambridge, in their dear care and tender preservation of our person, would have him punished. And now to our French causes. Who are the late commissioners?
I won, my lord. Your highness bade me ask for it today.
Then, Richard, Earl of Cambridge, there is yours. Read it, and know I know your worthiness. What see you in those papers that you lose so much complexion?
I do confess my fault and do submit to your highness's mercy.
The mercy that was quick in us but late, by your own counsel is suppressed and killed. You must not dare for shame to talk of mercy. For your own reasons turn into your bosoms as dogs upon their masters, worrying you. See you, my princes and my noble peers, this English monster.
I arrest thee of high treason by the name of Richard, Earl of Cambridge.
For me, the gold of France did not seduce, although I did admit it as a motive the sooner to effect what I intended. But God be thanked for prevention, which I in sufferance heartily will rejoice, beseeching God and you to pardon me. Never did faithful subject more rejoice at the discovery of most dangerous treason than I do at this hour joy o'er myself. Prevented from a damned enterprise, my fault, but not my body, pattern, sovereign.
God quit you in his mercy. Hear your sentence. You have conspired against our royal person, joined with an enemy proclaimed, and from his coffers received the golden earnest of our death, wherein you would have sold us to slaughter, and the whole kingdom into desolation. Touching our person seek we no revenge, but we our kingdom's safety must so tender, whose ruin you have sought, that to her laws we do deliver you. Get you therefore hence, poor miserable wretch, to your death. The taste whereof God of his mercy give you patience to endure, and true repentance of all your dear offenses. Now, lords, for France, the enterprise whereof shall be to you as us like glorious. We doubt not of a fair and lucky war, since God so graciously hath brought to light this dangerous treason lurking in our way to hinder our beginnings. We doubt not now, but every rub is smoothed on our way. Then forth, dear countrymen, let us deliver our puissance into the hand of God, putting it straight in expedition. Cheerly to sea, the signs of war advance. No king of England, if not king of France.
The king hath run bad humours on the night. That's the even of it.
Nym, thou hast spoke the right. His heart is fracted and corroborate.
The king is a good king, but it must be as it may.
Prithee, honey, sweet husband, let me bring thee to Staines.
No, for my manly heart doth yearn. Bardolph, be blithe. Nym, rouse thy vaunting veins, bristle thy courage up, for Falstaff is dead. And we must yearn therefore.
Would I were with him, wheresoever he is, either in heaven or in hell.
Nay, sure he's not in hell. He's in Arthur's bosom. If ever a man went to Arthur's bosom. I made a finer end and went away, and had it been any christened child. Parted even just between 12 and 1, even of the turning of the tide. For after I saw him fumble with the sheets, and play with all the flowers and smile upon his fingers' ends. I knew there was only one way. For his nose was as sharp as a pen, and a babbling of green fields. How now, Sir John? Quoth I. What man be of good cheer? So I cried out, God, 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 3 or 4 times. Now I, to comfort him, bid him should not think of God. I hoped there was no need to trouble himself with any such thoughts yet. So I bade me lay more clothes on his feet. I put my hand into the bed and felt them, and they were as cold as any stone. I felt up to his knees, and they were as cold as any stone. So upwards and upwards, and all was as cold as any stone.
They say he cried out of sack.
Aye, that I did.
And of women.
Nay, that I did not.
Shall we shog? The king will be gone from Southampton.
Come, let us away. My love, give me thy lips. Look to my chattels and my movables. Trust none. For oaths are straws, men's faiths are wafer cakes, and hold fast is the only dog, my duck. Therefore, Cavetto be thy counselor. Let us to France. Like horse leeches, my boys, to suck, the very blood to suck, touch her soft mouth, and march.
Farewell, hostess.
I cannot kiss. That is the humor of it, but adieu.
Let housewife reappear. Keep close, I thee command.
Farewell, adieu.
Thus comes the English with full power upon us, and more than carefully it us concerns to answer royally in our defences. Therefore, the Dukes of Berry and Bretagne, of Brabant and Orleans shall make forth, and you, Prince Dauphin, with all swift dispatch to line and new repair our towns of war, with men of courage and with means defendant. For England his approaches makes as fierce as waters to the sucking of a gulf. It fits us then to be as provident as fear may teach us out of late examples left by the fatal and neglected English upon our fields.
My most redoubted father, it is most meet we arm us against the foe, for peace itself should not so dull a kingdom. Though war, no known quarrel were in question, but that defenses, musters, preparations should be maintained, assembled, and collected, as were war in expectation. Therefore, I say 'tis meet we all go forth to view the sick and feeble parts of France. And let us do it with no show of fear. No, with no more than if we heard that England were busied with a Whitsun morn dance. For my good liege, she is so idly kinged, her sceptre so fantastically borne by a vain and giddy, shallow, humorous youth, that fear attends her not.
Think we King Harry strong? And princes, look you strongly armed to meet him. The kindred of him hath been fleshed upon us, and he is bred out of that bloody strain that haunted us in our familiar paths. Witness our too much memorable shame when Cressy battle fatally was struck, and all our princes captive by the hand of that black name, Edward, Black Prince of Wales. Whiles that his mountain sire, on mountain standing, up in the air, crowned with a golden sun, saw his heroical seed, and smiled to see him mangle the work of nature and deface the patterns that by God and by French fathers had 20 years been made. This is a stem of that victorious stock, and let us fear the native mightiness and fate of him.
Ambassadors from Harry, King of England, do crave admittance to your majesty.
We'll give them present audience. Go and bring them. You see this chase is hotly followed.
Turn head and stop pursuit. For coward dogs most spend their mouths when what they seem to threaten runs far before them. Good my sovereign, take up the English short and let them know of what a monarchy you are at the head. Self-love, my liege, is not so vile a sin as self-neglecting.
From our brother England?
From him, and thus he greets your majesty. He wills you, in the name of God Almighty, that you divest yourself and lay apart the borrowed glories that by gift of heaven, by law of nature and of nations, longed to him and to his heirs, namely the crown, and all wide-stretched honors that pertain by custom and the ordinance of time unto the crown of France. And when you find him evenly derived from his most famed of famous ancestors, Edward III, he bids you then resign your crown and kingdoms indirectly held from him, the native and true challenger.
Or else what follows?
Bloody constraint, for if you hide the crown even in your hearts, there will he rate for it. Therefore, in fierce tempest is he coming, in thunder and in earthquake like a Jove, and bids you, in the bowels of the Lord, deliver up the crown, and to take mercy on the poor souls, for whom this hungry war opens his vasty jaws, and on your head, turning the widow's tears, the orphan's cries, the dead men's blood, the pining maiden's groans, for husbands, fathers, and betrothed lovers that shall be swallowed in this controversy. This is his claim, his threatening, and my message, unless the Dauphin be in presence here, to whom expressly I bring greeting too.
For us, we will consider of this further. Tomorrow shall you bear our full intent back to brother England.
For the Dauphin, I stand here for him. What to him from England?
Scorn and defiance, slight regard, contempt, and anything that may not misbecome the mighty sender, doth he prize you at. Thus says my king, and if your father's highness do not, in grant of all demands at large, sweeten the bitter mock you send his majesty, he'll call you to so hot an answer of it, that caves and womby voltages of France shall chide your trespass and return your mock in second assent of his ordinance.
Say, if my father rendered fair return, it is against my will. For I desire nothing but odds with England. To that end, as matching to his youth and vanity, I did present him with the Paris balls.
He'll make your Paris loop shake for it. Were it the mistress court of mighty Europe, and be assured you'll find a difference between the promise of his greener days and these he masters now. Now he weighs time even to the utmost grain that you shall read in your own losses if he stay in France.
Tomorrow shall you know our minds at full.
Dispatch us all with speed, lest that our king come here himself to question our delay, for he is footed in this land already.
Thus, with imagined wing, our swift scene flies in motion of no less celerity than that of thought. Suppose that you have seen the well-appointed king at Hampton Pier embark his royalty, and his brave fleet with silken streamers the young Phoebus fanning. Play with your fancies, and in them behold upon the hampen tackle ship boys climbing. Hear the shrill whistle which doth order give to sounds confused. Behold the threatened sails borne with the invisible and creeping wind, draw the huge bottoms through the furrowed sea, breasting the lofty surge. Oh, do but think you stand upon the ravage and behold a city on the inconstant billows dancing. For so appears this fleet majesticful, holding due course to Harfleur. Follow, grapple your minds to sternage of this navy, and leave your England as dead midnight still, guarded with grandsires, babies, and old women, either past or not arrived to pith and puissance. For who is he whose chin is but enriched with wan appearing hair, that will not follow these culled and choice-drawn cavaliers to France? Work your thoughts, and therein see a siege. Behold the ordnance on their carriages, with fatal mouths gaping on girded Harfleur. Suppose the ambassador from the French comes back, tells Harry that the king doth offer him Catherine his daughter, and with her to dowry some petty and unprofitable dukedoms. The offer likes not, and the nimble gunner with linstock now the devilish cannon touches, and down goes all before them. Still be kind, and eke out our performance with your mind.
Once more to the breach, dear friends, once more! I'll close the wall up with our English dead. In peace, there's nothing so becomes a man as modest stillness and humility. But when the blast of war blows in our ears, then imitate the action of the tiger. Stiffen the sinews, summon up the blood, disguise fair nature with hard, favored rage, then lend the eye a terrible aspect. Let pry through the portage of the head like the brass cannon. Let the brow o'erwhelm it as fearfully as doth a galled rock o'erhang and juddy his confounded base, swilled with the wild and wasteful ocean. Now set the teeth and stretch the nostrils wide. Hold hard the breath and bend up every spirit to his full height. On, you noblest English, whose blood is fet from fathers of war proof. Fathers that, like so many Alexanders, have in these parts from morn till even fought and sheathed their swords for lack of argument. Dishonor not your mothers. Now attest that those whom you called fathers did beget you. Be copy now to men of grosser blood and teach them how to war. And you, good Yemen, whose limbs were made in England, show us here the metal of your pasture. Let us swear that you are worth your breeding, which I doubt not. For there is none of you so mean and base that hath not noble lustre in your eyes, as you stand like greyhounds in the slips, straining upon the start. The game's afoot. Follow your spirit, and upon this charge cry, God for Harry, England, and St. George!
To the breach!
Pray thee, Corporal, stay. The knocks are too hot, and for mine own part, I have not a case of lives. The humor of it is too hot. That is the very plain song of it.
The plain song is most just, for humors do abound. Knocks go and come, God's vassals drop and die, and sword and shield in bloody field doth win immortal flame. Up to the breach, you dons! Avant, you cullions! Be merciful, great Duke, to men of mold. Abate thy rage, abate thy manly rage, abate thy rage, Duke. Good Bawcock, bate thy rage, use Lenadee, sweet Chuck.
These be good humors. Your humor wins bad humors.
Here is my speech.
stand aside, nobility.
Oh, Jesus. This is excellent sport of faith.
Weep not, sweet queen, for trickling tears are vain.
Oh, the father, how he holds his countenance.
For God's sake, lords, convey my tristful queen, for tears do stop the floodgates of her eyes.
Oh, Jesus. He doth it as like one of these harlotry players as ever I see.
Peace, good pint pot, peace, good trickle brain. Harry, I do not only marvel where thou spendest thy time, but also how thou art accompanied. For thou the chamomile, the more 'tis trodden on, the faster it grows. Yet youth, the more 'tis wasted, the sooner it wears. Thou art my son. I have partly thy mother's word, partly my own opinion, but chiefly a villainous trick of thine eye, and a foolish hanging of thy nether lip that doth warrant me. If then thou be son to me, here lies the point. Why, being son to me, art thou so pointed at? Shall the blessed Son of Heaven prove a micker and eat blackberries? A question ought to be asked. Shall the Son of England prove a thief and take purses? A question to be asked. There is a thing, Harry, which thou hast often heard of, and it is known to many in our land by the name of pitch. This pitch, as ancient writers do report, doth defile. So doth the company thou keepest for Harry. Now I do not speak to thee in drink, but in tears. Do not in pleasure, but in passion, not in words only, but in woes also. And yet there is a virtuous man whom I have often noted in thy company, but I know not his name.
What manner of man, and it like your majesty?
A good portly man, a faith, and a corpulent, of a cheerful look, a pleasing eye, and a most noble carriage. And as I think, his age some 50, or by Our Lady inclining to 60. And now I remember me, his name is Falstaff. If that man should be lewdly given, he deceiveth me, for Harry, I see virtue in his looks. If then the tree may be known by the fruit, as the fruit by the tree, then I peremptorily I speak it. There is virtue in that Falstaff. Him keep with the rest banish. And tell me now, thou naughty varlet, tell me, where hast thou been this month?
Dost thou speak like a king? Do thou stand for me, and I'll play my father.
Depose me? If thou dost it have so gravely, so majestically, both in word and matter, hang me up by the heels for a rabbit sucker of poultice hair.
Well, here I am set.
And here I stand, judge my masters.
Now, Harry, where come you?
Noble lord, from East Cheap.
The complaints I hear of thee are grievous.
Sblood, my lord, they are false. Nay, I'll tickle ye for a young prince of faith.
Where'st thou, ungracious boy? Henceforth ne'er look on me. Thou art violently carried away from grace. There is a devil haunts thee in the likeness of an old fat man. A ton of man is thy companion. Why dost thou converse with that trunk of humors, that bolting hutch of beastliness, that swollen parcel of dropsies, that huge bombard of sack, that stuffed cloak bag of guts, that roasted Manning tree ox with pudding in his belly, that reverend vice, that grey iniquity, that father ruffian, that vanity in years? Wherein neat and cleanly but to carve a con and eat it. Where in cunning but in craft? Where in crafty but in villainy? Where in villainous but in all things? Where in worthy but in nothing?
I would your grace would take me with you. Who means your grace?
That villainous, abominable misleader of youth. Falstaff, that old white-bearded Satan.
My lord, the man I know.
I know thou dost.
But to say I know more harm in him than in myself, or to say more than I know, that he is old, the more the pity. His white hairs do witness it, but that he is, saving your reverence, a whore master. That I utterly deny. If sack and sugar be a fault, God help the wicked. If to be old and merry be a sin, then many an old host that I know is damned. If to be fat, to be hated, then Pharaoh's lean kine are to be loved. No, my good lord, banish Peto, banish Bardolph, banish Poins, but for sweet Jack Falstaff, kind Falstaff, true Jack Falstaff, valiant Jack Falstaff, and therefore more valiant, being as he is old Jack Falstaff, banish not him thy Harry's company, banish not him thy Harry's company, banish plump Jack, and banish all the world.
I do. I will. How yet resolves the governor of the town? This is the latest parley we will admit. Therefore, to our best mercy give yourselves, or like to men proud of destruction, defy us to our worst. For as I am a soldier, a name that in my thoughts becomes me best, if I begin the battery once again, I will not leave the half-achieved Harfleur till in her ashes she lie buried. What say you? Will you yield and this avoid, or guilty in defense be thus destroyed?
Our expectation hath this day an end. The Dauphin, whom of successors we entreated, returns us that his powers are not ready to raise so great a siege. Therefore, great king, we yield our town and lives to thy soft mercy. Enter our gates, dispose of us and ours, for we no longer are defensible.
Open your gates. Come, Gower, go you and enter Harfleur. There remain and fortify it strongly against the French. Use mercy to them all. The winter coming on and sickness growing upon our soldiers, we will retire to Calais. Tonight in Harfleur we will be your guest. Tomorrow for the march we are dressed.
'Tis certain he has passed the river Somme.
Oh, du vivant! Shall a few sprays of us, this empty of our fathers' luxury, our scions put in wild and savage stock, spirit up so suddenly into the clouds and overlook their rafters? By faith and honor, our madams mock at us and plainly say our metal is bred out, and they will give their bodies to the lust of English youth to store New France with bastard warriors.
Where is Montjoy the herald? Speed him hence! Let him greet England with a sharp defiance. Up, princes! And with the spirits of honor edged, more sharper than your swords, hie ye to the field. Bar Harry England, that sweeps through our land with pennons painted in the blood of Harfleur. Rush on his host, as doth the melted snow upon the valleys whose low vassal seat the Alps doth spit and void his room upon. Go down upon him. You have power enough. And in a captive chariot unto Rome, bring him our prisoner.
How now, Captain Llewellyn? Come you from the bridge?
There is an ancient lieutenant there at the bridge. I think in my very conscience he is as valiant a man as Mark Antony, and he is a man of no estimation in the world, but did see him do his gallant service.
What do you call him?
He is called
Ancient Pistol.
I know him not.
Here is the man.
I thee beseech to do me favors.
I praise God, and I have merited some love at his hands.
Bardolph, a soldier firm and sound of heart, and of buxom valor, hath by cruel fate and giddy fortune's furious fickle wheel that goddess blind that stands upon the rolling restless stone.
By your patience, Ancient Pistol, Fortune is painted blind with a muffler for her eyes to signify to you that Fortune is blind.
Fortune is Bardolph's foe and frowns on him, for he hath stolen a pax and hanged must he be, a damned at death. Let gallows gape for dog, let man go free, and let not himp his windpipe suffocate. But Exeter hath given the doom of death for pax of little price. Therefore go speak, the Duke will hear thy voice, and let not Bardolph's vital thread be cut with edge of penny cord and vile reproach. Speak, captain, for his life, and I will thee requite.
Ancient Pistol, I do partly understand your meaning.
Why then rejoice therefore?
Certainly, Ancient, it is not a thing to rejoice at, for if, look you, he were my brother, I would desire the Duke to use his good pleasure and put him to execution, for discipline ought to be used.
Die and be damned, and Figo for thy friendship.
Why, this errant counterfeit rascal. I remember him now. A bawd, a cutpurse.
I'll assure you, I uttered a brave words as the bridge as you shall see in a summer's day. Hark you, the king is come in. I must speak with him from the bridge. God bless your majesty.
How now, Llewellyn? Camest thou from the bridge?
Aye, so please your majesty. The Duke of Exeter has very gallantly maintained the bridge.
What men have you lost, Llewellyn?
One that is like to be executed for robbing a church. One Bardolph, if your majesty know the man.
Oh, welcome, Jack. Where hast thou been?
A plague of all cowards, I say, and a vengeance too. Marry and amen. Now, give me a couple of sack, boy. Oh, you rogue! Oh, God, there's lime in this sack, too. There's nothing but roguery to be found in villainous men. Yet a coward is worse than a cup of sack with lime in it. Villainous coward. Oh, go thy ways, old Jack. Die when thou wilt, if manhood, good manhood, be not forgot upon the face of this earth.
Faith, I ran when I saw others run.
Oh, villain, thou stolest a cup of sack 18 years ago, and wert taken with the manor, and ever since thou hast blushed extempore. Thou hadst fire and sword on thy side, and yet thou rannest away. What instincts hast thou for it?
My lord, do you see these meteors? Do you behold their exhalations? What think you they portend?
Hot livers and cold purses.
Choler, my lord, if rightly taken.
We would have all such offenders so cut off. And we give express charge that in our marches through the country, there be nothing compelled from the villages, nothing taken but paid for, none of the French upbraided or abused in disdainful language. For when lenity and cruelty play for a kingdom, the gentler gamester is the soonest winner.
Now entertain conjecture of a time when creeping murmur and the pouring dark fills the wide vessel of the universe. From camp to camp, through the foul womb of night, the hum of either army stilly sounds, that the fixed sentinels almost receive the secret whispers of each other's watch. Fire answers fire, and through their paly flames each battle sees the other's umbered face. Steed threatens steed, in high and boastful neighs, piercing the night's dull ear. And from the tents, the armorers, accomplishing the nights with busy hammers closing rivets up, give dreadful note of preparation. The country cocks do crow, the clocks do toll, and the third hour of drowsy morning neighs. Proud of their numbers and secure in soul, the confident and overlusty French do the low-rated English play at dice, and chide the crippled tardy-gated knight who, like a foul and ugly witch, doth limp so tediously away. The poor condemned English, like sacrifices by their watchful fires, sit patiently and inly ruminate the morning's danger, and their gesture sad investing lank lean cheeks and war-worn coats, presenteth them unto the gazing moon so many horrid ghosts. Oh now, who will behold the royal captain of this ruined band, walking from watch to watch, from tent to tent? Let him cry praise and glory on his head. For forth he goes and visits all his host, bids them good morrow with modest smile, and calls them brothers, friends, and countrymen. Upon his royal face there is no note how dread an army hath enrounded him, nor doth he dedicate one jot of colour unto the weary and all-watched night, but freshly looks, and overbears a taint with cheerful semblance and sweet majesty, that every wretch, pining and pale before, beholding him, plucks comfort from his looks. A largest universal, like the sun, his liberal eye doth give to every one, thawing cold fear, that mean and gentle all, behold as may unworthiness defy, a little touch of Harry in the night. And so our scene must to the battle fly, where, oh, for pity, we shall much disgrace with 4 or 5 most vile and ragged foils, right ill-disposed in brawl ridiculous, the name of Agincourt. Yet sit and see, mining true things by what their mockeries be.
Captain Llewellyn!
So in the name of Jesus Christ, speak lower.
Why? The enemy is loud. You hear him all night.
If the enemy is an ass and a fool and a prating coxcomb, is it meet, think you, that we should also, look you, be an ass and a fool and a prating coxcomb? In your conscience now?
I will speak lower.
I pray you and beseech you that you will.
Though it appear a little out of fashion, there is much care and valor in this Welshman.
Guivala,
A friend.
discuss unto me, art thou officer, or art thou base, common, and popular?
I am a gentleman of company.
Trailest thou the puissant pike?
Even so, what are you?
As good a gentleman as the emperor.
And you are better than the king.
The king's a bawcock and a heart of gold, a lad of life, an imp of fame, of parents good, a fist most valiant, I kiss his dirty shoe, and from heartstring I love the lovely bully. What is thy name?
Harry Leroy.
Leroy? A Cornish name. Art thou of a Cornish crew?
No, I am a Welshman.
Knowst thou Llewellyn?
Yes.
Tell him I'll knock his leek about his pate upon St. Davy's Day. Art thou his friend?
His kinsman, too.
Figo for thee, then.
Thank you. God be with you.
My name is Pistol Called.
It sorts well with your fierceness.
What save thy grace, King Hal! Thy royal Hal!
The heavens thee guard and keep, most royal imp of fame.
God save thee, my sweet boy!
My Lord Chief Justice, speak to that vain man.
My king! My Jove! I speak to thee, all my heart!
I know thee not, old man! Fall to thy prayers. How ill white hairs become a fool and jester. I've long dreamed of such a kind of man, so surfeit swelled, so old and so profane. But being awaked, I do despise my dream. Make less thy body hence and more thy grace. Leave gormandizing. Know the grave doth gape for thee thrice wider than for other men. Reply not to me with a fool-born jest. Presume not that I am the thing I was. For God doth know, so shall the world perceive that I have turned away from my former self. So will I those that keep me company. When thou dost hear I am as I have been, approach me, and thou shalt be as thou wast, the tutor and the feeder of my riots. Till then I banish thee on pain of death, as I have done the rest of my misleaders, not to come near our person by 10 mile. For competence of life I will allow you, that lack of means enforce you not to evil. And as we hear you do reform yourselves, we will, according to your strengths and qualities, give you advancement. Be it your charge, my lord, to see performed the tenor of our word. Set on.
Do not grieve you at this. I shall be sent for in private to him. Look you, he must seem thus to the world, sir. I will be good as my word. This that you heard was but the color.
A color that I fear you will die in, Sir John.
You fear no colors. Go with me to dinner. Come, Lieutenant Pistol. I shall be sent for soon at night.
Si fortuna me tormenta, spero contenta.
O God of battles, steel my soldiers' hearts. Possess them not with fear. Take from them now the sense of reckoning, if the opposed numbers pluck their hearts from them. Not today, O Lord, oh, not Today, think not upon the fault my father made encompassing the crown. I, Richard's body, have interred anew, and on it bestowed more contrite tears than from it issued forced drops of blood. 500 poor I have in yearly pay, who twice a day with their withered hands hold up toward heaven to pardon blood. And I have built 2 chantries where the sad and solemn priests sing still for Richard's soul. More will I do. Though all that I can do is nothing worth, since that my penitence comes after all, imploring pardon.
The sun doth gild our armor. Up, my lords! Hark, how our steeds for present service neigh.
Mount them, and make incisions in their hides so that their hot blood may spin in English eyes and doubt them with superfluous courage.
The English are in battle, you French peers.
Shall we go send them dinners? And fresh suits? And give their fasting horses provender and after fight with them?
Where is the king?
The king himself is rode to view the battle.
Of fighting men, they have full 70,000. There's 5 to 1. Besides, they all are fresh. Oh, that we now had here but 10,000 of those men in England that do no work today.
What's he that wishes so? My cousin Westmoreland? No, my fair cousin. If we are marked to die, we are now to do our country loss. And if to live, the fewer men, the greater share of honor, God's will. I pray thee, wish not 1 man more. By Jove, I am not covetous for gold, nor care I who doth feed upon my cost. It yearns me not if men my garments wear, such outward things dwell not in my desires. But if it be a sin to covet honor, I am the most offending soul alive. No, faith, my cuz, wish not a man from England. God's peace, I would not lose so great an honor as 1 man more methinks would share from me for the best hope I have. Oh, do not wish 1 man more. Rather proclaim it, Westmoreland, through my host, that he which hath no stomach to this fight, let him depart. His passport shall be made and crowns for convoy put into his purse. We would not die in that man's company that fears his fellowship to die with us. This day is called the Feast of Crispian. He that outlives this day and comes safe home will stand a tiptoe when the day is named, and rouse him at the name of Crispian. He that shall live this day and see old age will yearly on the vigil feast his neighbors and say, tomorrow is Saint Crispian. Then will he strip his sleeve and show his scars and say, these wounds I had on Crispin's day. Old men forget, yet all shall be forgot, but he'll remember with advantages what feats he did that day. Then shall our names familiar in his mouth as household words, Harry the King, Bedford, Exeter, Warwick and Talbot, Salisbury and Gloucester, be in their flowing cups freshly remembered. This story shall the good man teach his son, and Crispian shall ne'er go by from this day to the ending of the world. But we in it shall be remembered. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers. For he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. Be he ne'er so vile, this day shall gentle his condition. And gentlemen in England now abed shall think themselves accursed they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap, whiles any speaks that fought with us upon St. Crispin's day.
Huzzah! Huzzah! Huzzah!
Perish the man whose mind is backward now.
Thou dost not wish more help from England, coz?
God's will. My liege, would you and I alone, without more help, could fight this royal battle?
By now thou hast unwished 5,000 men, which likes me better than to wish us one. You know your places. God be with you all.
Once more I come to know of thee, King Harry, if for thy ransom thou wilt now compound, before thy most assured overthrow. For certainly thou art so near the gulf, thou needs must be englutted. Besides, in mercy, the constable desires thee thou will mind thy followers of repentance, that their souls may be a peaceful and a sweet retire from off these fields where wretches, their poor bodies must lie and fester.
Who hath sent thee now?
The constable of France.
I pray thee, bear my former answer back. Bid them achieve me and then sell my bones. Let me speak proudly. Tell the constable we are but warriors for the working day. Our gameness and our guilt are all besmirched with rainy marching in the painful field. There's not a piece of feather in our host, good argument, I hope we will not fly, and time hath worn us into slovenry. But by the mass our hearts are in the trim, and my poor soldiers tell me, yet ere night they'll be in fresher robes, or they will pluck the gay new coats o'er the French soldiers' heads and turn them out of service.
I shall, King Harry, and so fare thee well. Thou never shalt hear Harold any more.
I fear thou'lt once more come again for ransom. Westmoreland, lead your men.
On me!
Charge! Charge!
Mocking in our plumes, oh marchand fortune! Do not run away!
Why, all our ranks are broke.
Oh, perdurable shame! Be these the wretches that we played at dice for?
Is this the king we sent to for his ransom?
kill all the boys and the luggage? 'Tis expressly against the law of arms. 'Tis an errant, a piece of knavery, mark you, now as can be offered. In your conscience now, is it not?
'Tis certain there's not a boy left alive. And cowardly rascals that run from battle have done this slaughter. Besides, they have burned and carried away all that was in the king's tent. Wherefore the king most worthily hath caused every soldier to cut his prisoner's throat. Oh, 'tis a gallant king.
Aye. He was born in Monmouth, Captain Dower. What call you the town's name where Alexander the Big was born?
I think Alexander the Great was born in Macedon. His father was called Philip of Macedon, as I take it.
I think it is Macedon where Alexander is born. I tell you, Captain, if you look in the maps of the world, I warn you shall find in the comparisons between Macedon and Monmouth that the situations, look you, is both alike. If you mark Alexander's life well, Harry of Monmouth's life is come after in different well. For there is figures in all things. Alexander, God knows, and you know, in his rages and his furies, and his wraths and his chollers, and his moods and his displeasures and his indignations, and also being a little intoxicated in his brains, did in his alleys and his angers, look you, kill his best friend Cletus.
Our king is not like him in that he never killed any of his friends.
It is not well done. Mark you now. Take the tales out of my mouth ere it is made and finished. I speak, but in the figures and comparisons of it, as Alexander killed his friend Cletus, being in his ales and his cups, so also Harry Monmouth, being his right wit and his good judgments, turned away the fat knight with the great belly doublet. He was full of jests and rights and knaveries and marts. I forgot his name.
Sir John Falstaff.
Ah, that is he. I'll tell you, there is a good man born at Monmouth.
Here comes His Majesty.
I was not angry since I came to France until this instant. Take a trumpet, herald, ride thou unto the horsemen on yon hill. If they will fight with us, bid them come down or void the field. They do offend our sight. If they'll do neither, we will come to them and make them scur away as swift as stones and borscht from the old Assyrian slings. Besides, we'll cut the throats of those we have, and not a man of them that we shall take shall taste our mercy. Go and tell them so.
Here comes the Herald of France, my liege. His eyes are humbler than they used to be.
How now? What means this, herald? Knowst thou not that I have fined these bones of mine for ransom? Comest thou again for ransom?
No, great king, I come to thee for charitable license, that we may wander o'er this bloody field to look our dead, and then to bury them, to sort our nobles from our common men. For many of our princes, woe the while, lie drowned and soaked in mercenary blood. So do our vulgar drench their peasant limbs in blood of princes, and their wounded steeds fret fetlock deep in the gore, and with wild rage yerk out their armed heels at their dead masters, killing them twice. Oh, give us leave, great king, to view the field in safety and dispose of their dead bodies.
I tell thee truly, herald, I know not if the day be ours or no, for yet a many of your horsemen peer and gallop o'er the field.
The day is yours.
Praised be God, and not our strength for it. What is this castle called that stands hard by?
They call it Agincourt.
Then call we this the field of Agincourt, fought on the day of Crispin Crispians.
Your grandfather of famous memory, and please your majesty, and your great-uncle Edward the Black, Prince of Wales, as I have read in the chronicles, fought a most brave battle here in France.
They did, Fluellen.
Your majesty says very true. If your majesties is remembered of it, the Welshmen did good service in a garden where leeks did grow, wearing leeks in their Monmouth caps, which, your majesty know, to this hour is an honorable badge of their service. And I do believe your majesty takes no scorn to wear the leek upon St. Tabby's Day.
I wear it for a memorable honor, for I am Welsh, you know, good countrymen.
All the waters and Wye cannot wash your majesty's Welsh blood out of your body. I can tell you that. God bless it and preserve it as long as it pleases his grace and his majesty's too.
Thanks, good my countrymen.
Jesu, I am your majesty's countryman. I care not who knows it. I will confess it to the world. I need not be ashamed of your majesty. Praised be God, so long as your majesty is an honorable man.
God keep me so. Our heralds go with him. Bring me just notice of the numbers dead on both our parts. Call yonder fellow hither. Now, herald, are the dead numbered?
Here's the number of the slaughtered French.
This note doth tell me of 10,000 French that in the field lie slain. Of princes in this number and nobles bearing banners there lie dead 126. Added to these of knights, esquires, and gallant gentlemen, 8,400, of the which 500 were but yesterday dubbed knights. So that, in these 10,000 they have lost, there are but 1,600 mercenaries. The rest are princes, barons, lords, knights, squires, and gentlemen of blood and quality. Here was a royal fellowship of death! Where's the number of our English dead? Edward, the Duke of York, the Earl of Suffolk, Sir Richard Ketley, Davy Gam, Esquire. None else of name, and of all other men but 25. O God, thy arm was here, and not to us, but to thy arm alone. Ascribe we all, when without stratagem, but in plain shock and even play of battle, was ever known so great and little loss on one part and on the other? Take it, God, for it is none but thine. Come, go we in procession to the village, and be it death proclaimed through our host to boast of this or take the praise from God, which is his only.
Is it not lawful, and please your majesty, to tell how many is killed?
Yes, Captain, but with this acknowledgement that God fought for us.
Yes, my conscience, he did do us great good.
Do we all holy rites? Let there be sung non nobis and Te Deum. The dead with charity enclosed in clay, and then to Calais, and to England then, where ne'er from France arrived more happy men.
But now behold, in the quick forge and working house of thought, how London doth pour out her citizens. The mayor and all his brethren in best sort, like to the senators of the antique Rome, with the plebeians swarming at their heels, go forth and fetch their conquering Caesar in.
All hell shall stir for this. Doth fortune play the housewife with me now? News have I that my Nell is dead in the spital of malady of France, and there my rendezvous is quite cut off. Old I do wax, and from my weary limbs honor is cudgelled. Well, Bald, I'll turn, and something leaned a cut-purse of quick hand. To England will I steal, and there I'll steal, and patches while I get unto these cudgelled scars, and swear I got them in the Gallia wars.
Now when London place him, as yet the lamentation of the French invites the King of England stay at home. The Emperor's coming in behalf of France to order peace between them, and omit all the occurrences, whatever chanced, till Harry's back return again to France.
Prepare we for our marriage, on which day my Lord of Burgundy will take your oath, and all the peers for surety of our leagues. Then shall I swear to Kate and you to me, and may our oaths well kept and prosperous be.
Thus far, with rough and all unable pen, our bending author hath presented the story. In little room confining mighty men, mangling by starch the full course of their glory. Small time, but in that small most greatly lived this Star of England. Fortune made his sword, by which the world's best garden be achieved, and of it left his son, Imperial Lord. Henry VI, in infant bands crowned King of France and England, this king succeed, whose state so many had the managing that they lost France and made his England bleed, which oft our stage hath shown. And for their sake, in your fair minds, let this accept